We now take you live to Ministry of External Affairs press briefing in New Delhi.
Summit and East Asia Summit. We also joined on the dais by Joint Secretary who looks after ASEAN in the Ministry of External Affairs, Srimati Paramita Tripathi. With that, I invite Secretary Sir to make his opening remarks. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Randy. As Randy mentioned, Prime Minister will be travelling to Vientiane in Laos PDR for the 21st ASEAN-India Summit and the 19th East Asia Summit. At the invitation of His Excellency Prime Minister Sifandon of Laos PDR, the visit will be over 10th and 11th of October. We attach great significance to all ASEAN-related mechanisms. This will be Prime Minister's 10th attendance at a ASEAN-India Summit, and you will recall that even in 2023, just before he was to host the G20 Summit, he made the effort to attend the ASEAN-India Summit in Jakarta. That shows the commitment that we have to the ASEAN-related mechanisms. And the significance of this particular summit will be that it is the 10th anniversary of Prime Minister's Act East policy. Prime Minister will, along with other heads of state and government of ASEAN countries, review the progress in the relations between India and ASEAN over this time, and they will chart the future direction of our relationship. We will be expressing our support for the chair's theme, which is connectivity and resilience. Now, as you know, connectivity is a very important pillar of our engagement with ASEAN. As much as 20% of the Indian diaspora worldwide lives in ASEAN countries. We have direct flights with 7 ASEAN countries, and we expect that perhaps before the end of the year we will have direct connectivity with flight connectivity with 2 more ASEAN countries. And ASEAN is also amongst our top trade and investment partners of India, and therefore the importance of connectivity and relationship with ASEAN. In terms of resilience, in terms of disaster resilience, for example, India has been one of the first responders in disaster occurrences in the region, starting from the Indian Ocean tsunami to the Typhoon Yagi earlier this month or last month, and recently we airlifted assistance to both Vietnam and Laos, as well as to Myanmar in the wake of the typhoon. Regarding resilience, also building resilient supply chain is an important objective for India with ASEAN countries, and our review of the ASEAN-India trade in goods is ongoing, and that is something that will feed into supply chain resilience with these countries. India has many cooperative activities with ASEAN countries. We have 4 funds. One is the ASEAN-India Fund, the ASEAN-India Green Fund, the ASEAN-India Science and Technology Development Fund, and last year Prime Minister announced the ASEAN-India Fund for the Digital Future. So we have a number of activities lined up on all these funds, through which we undertake capacity building, we offer scholarships, we build collaborative R&D, we build people-to-people connects, and we cover many areas such as IT, space, health, etc. Moving on to the East Asia Summit. The East Asia Summit, as you know, encompasses the 10 ASEAN countries and 8 partners: Australia, China, India, Japan, ROK, New Zealand, Russia, and the United States. And Timor-Leste will also be a partner as an observer. This mechanism has been in existence since 2005, and it is to build strategic trust in the region, promote peace and stability and prosperity for the region. In the East Asia Summit, the Prime Minister announced the Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative in the 14th EAS Summit in 2019, and since then we have built convergences with the ASEAN's own outlook for the Indo-Pacific, and we work closely with ASEAN countries on this. 3 ASEAN countries, Indonesia, Thailand and Singapore, and 3 East Asia partners, the United States, Australia and Japan, are our partners in the IPOI. Incidentally, the revival of the Nalanda University is also an East Asia Summit initiative, and as you know, Prime Minister inaugurated the new campus of Nalanda University very recently. Bilaterally, Prime Minister will have a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of Laos PDR. We have very close, friendly and historical and civilizational relations with Laos PDR. That includes a whole host of different areas of cooperation, including restoration of archaeological sites, capacity building, IT. We have also undertaken quick impact projects. We have undertaken transmission line projects, power projects, a whole host of different areas of bilateral cooperation. There will also be other bilateral meetings with some of the countries who will be attending the East Asia Summit, and now if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Okay. Ayushi?
Sir, good afternoon. This is Ayushi Agarwal from ANI. So you mentioned that PM Modi is going to have other bilaterals as well, if you can tell us. And is there any meeting expected with the Chinese Premier?
Siddhant?
Sir, Siddhant from WION. Sir, you mentioned about 10 years of Act East policy of Modi government. So if you can talk about the impact and of course how it has strengthened the relationship between India and ASEAN grouping. And my second question is on the cultural aspect. We saw earlier this year when EM travel, a stamp was released when it comes to Ramayana. So is anything, any linkages we are looking at when it comes to the cultural linkages between India and Southeast Asia?
Question, sir. Yeshi?
This is Yeshi Seli from the New Indian Express. Is Myanmar going to take part in this upcoming meet?
Respond to them. As is normal and usual on the margins of international conferences and meetings, Prime Minister will have bilateral meetings with a number of leaders. These are all in the works, and you will get to hear of them as they happen. Regarding 10 years of Act East policy, these would be too numerous to recount here. There have been so many interactions, so much of bilateral cooperation, and so many different facets of the relationship that have grown unrecognizably today from what they were 10 years ago. But let me just say that there's been a qualitative and transformative development in our relations, both with the ASEAN region and with the larger region, which includes in the Act East policy, which is ROK, with Oceania, Australia, New Zealand, the Pacific Island countries, with Japan. So this includes both high-level visits, and you have seen even in the last 3 or 4 months how many high-level visits there have been between our two countries. And in each of those high-level visits, there has been real content in a future-looking, forward-looking way. Prime Minister himself has visited Singapore and Brunei. We have had incoming visits from the Prime Ministers of Vietnam and Malaysia. We had President going to Timor-Leste, Fiji and New Zealand. We have had External Affairs Ministers visits also to many places. I myself have done Foreign Office consultations with both Philippines and Indonesia. So this is a ongoing and very intense engagement with the entire region. Regarding linkages with even during this visit you will see some evidences of what we are doing in terms of our civilizational connect with Laos PDR. You will see that there are some projects that we are undertaking which restores ancient linkages between our two countries. But this is also an ongoing thing in both Cambodia, in Vietnam, in Laos PDR, and all across the region. As far as Myanmar is taking part, yes, Myanmar will be represented at this summit.
You have a question?
Sir, Shudhir from Bloomberg, sir. If you could give us an understanding whether the Prime Minister is going to discuss Myanmar and the situation there with other global leaders, and if so, what exactly would be, the discussion around on Myanmar?
So on Myanmar, of course, in the context of the East Asia Summit, this will come up. We expect, because it has come up at the level of senior officials as well as foreign ministers, so we expect that it will also be discussed. Our position is very supportive of the 5-point consensus of ASEAN. We support the work of the special envoy of ASEAN, who has been in contact with us. And our basic position, which we have consistently held, is that dialogue is the only way out, violence is no solution, and we encourage all parties to sit down and discuss issues between them.
Keshav?
Good afternoon, Secretary. My question regarding, so last year during this Keshav from the Print, last year during the Prime Minister's visit to the East Asia Summit, he made a 12-point proposal, of which connectivity, digital infrastructure, multiple parts to this. So could you give us a sense of, whether the proposal, what are the policy actions that would be discussed as a part of this, and also a little bit on the connectivity aspect related to Myanmar, whether the trilateral highway, its completion, whether that's also a sense as a part of this for connectivity with ASEAN.
We have a question there. Yeah.
I'm Arunesh from ANI. My question is, during Prime Minister's visit, will the issue of Indians getting due to Cambodia on pretext of fake jobs, will that issue also come up during his visit?
Mm-hmm.
On the 12-point proposals, you will see in terms of the outcomes that will be announced after the ASEAN-India Summit that will happen tomorrow, you will see how the action points that emanate from it feed into the 12-point proposals that Prime Minister had announced last year. So I don't want to preclude that, so you will definitely get to hear about it. I can assure you that we have a very rich list of deliverables between India and ASEAN. On the trilateral highway, yes, definitely, connectivity is it's a very important element of our connectivity with ASEAN countries. Thailand is very keen, as keen as us, that this is completed at the earliest. Myanmar is also very keen that we operationalize this at the earliest. So it is something that will be discussed and will come up in our interventions. As regards fake jobs, this is an issue which we have been taking up with countries concerned. External Affairs Minister has also in the past been taking it up, and we have had positive responses from the countries involved. Even as recently as last week, we had a large batch of about 65 people who were rescued from Cambodia. So this is an ongoing discussion that we are having with the countries, and we are seeing positive results from it.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. Pia with the Print. A spokesperson from the Thailand Foreign Ministry recently said that the political solution to Myanmar is necessary, and that Thailand may in fact float its own plan to resolve the crisis at the upcoming summit. So my question is, can we expect to understand that the 5-point consensus is no longer being discussed seriously? Would you say it's basically dead in the water at this point? Thank you.
Okay, Abhishek.
Hi sir, Abhishek Charisat, I'm independent journalist. My question is regarding this India-ASEAN Summit. Will Prime Minister be also talking about digital public infrastructure? especially in digital area, because India has several digital DPI agreement with several countries in the region, but will it also be raised at the level of India-ASEAN grouping?
Yeshi.
This is Yeshi Seli again. About Myanmar, we are talking about the trilateral connectivity. What about the Kalatan multimodal transit project? Are you going to discuss that, since you said that Myanmar is taking part?
Pranay.
सर प्रणय उपाध्याय पर अमर उजाला। मेरा सवाल इस चीज़ को लेकर है कि हाल ही में दक्षिण पूर्व एशिया के इलाके के अंदर साइबर क्राइम एक बहुत बड़ी चुनौती के तौर पर उभरा है, और हाल ही में यूएन की रिपोर्ट ने भी कहा है कि साउथ ईस्ट एशिया में एक बड़ा चैलेंज है। तो हमारी इस
इन साइबर क्राइम कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग इन फोरेंसिक्स फॉर साइबर क्राइम, ये सब मुद्दे हमारे देशों, आसियान और इंडियन देशों के बीच में डिस्कशन हुए हैं। कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग मेजर्स हमने किए हैं, तो ये ज़रूर एक अहम सब्जेक्ट है।
हमारा कोई सजेशन है, प्रपोजल है कि आसियान इसके लिए कोई एक फ्रेमवर्क बनाए?
ऐसे कोई इनिशिएटिव अभी आया नहीं है आसियान की तरफ से, बिकॉज एसेंशियली हम तो एज अ पार्टनर ऑफ आसियान कंट्रीज वी असिस्ट देम इन capacity building or in bilateral cooperation in how to address these issues. उनके तरफ से if they wish to create some mechanism by which they cooperate among themselves, तो वो उनका मामला है, हम उनको encourage कर सकते हैं, but ये essentially उन्हीं का decision है। But bilaterally हर एक देश के साथ जिसके साथ हमारे इंडियंस ऐसे स्थिति में आए हैं जो वहाँ पे स्कैमस्टर्स से प्रभावित होकर वहाँ पे गए हैं, तो हर एक देश के साथ हमारा बायलैटरली मैकेनिज्म है टू रेस्क्यू दोज इंडियंस।
If we do not have any more questions, then we come to the close of this session. Please stay tuned. The visit begins tomorrow. Thank you very much for your presence.
That was the MEA press conference on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's upcoming visit to Laos PDR. The focus would be Prime Minister's participation in the ASEAN-India Summit, also East Asia Summit. The MEA press briefing also spoke about the key focus areas of connectivity and strategic ties between India and the region. It's been also 10 years of the Act East policy, and it is expected to be taken forward during Prime Minister's visit. And with those updates, we conclude the show.